Hey, it's Marilla Manelli, and today I'm going to show you how to refresh grown out blondes while keeping natural dimension and adding subtle depth using all Kenra color. Now let's go ahead and get started. To get started, I'm going to pre-section her utilizing her natural center part and guiding that section all the way down right behind below the occipital. So she's got about a 2-inch wide section on her hairline. I'm gonna start out in the back hairline section. I'm gonna pull this hair completely straight up and I'm gonna weave down our first section. For this project, I'm going to be using Simply Blonde Beyond Bond Lightener at a 1:2 mixing ratio with 10 volume developer. And I'm just going to use a flat board so I can get pretty close to the hairline. You can see she's naturally pretty light, so I don't need to go in with anything super aggressive. And I love Beyond Bond because it has that dual blonde complex. I'm going to have that extra protection as we're lifting. And in this case, low and slow is gonna be the best route to go. For this next section, I'm gonna do a little slice right on down and I'm gonna weave on top of that. And I am taking pretty big sections, so this is kind of why I'm also utilizing my board. It's gonna give me a little better coverage. And I'm also not folding up these foils right here because this is gonna help me speed through this so much more quickly. So I have very little hair in between these foils. I also want something kind of bold, so I'm going in with more of a traditional highlight, not so much a baby light. Another reason why I'm also using this board is because she does have curly hair, so she's got lots of texture, so this is gonna help me stretch this hair out as I apply this product, and also help me get a little closer to that root area. I'm gonna add in one more highlight right here, and then we're gonna do the same thing to the other side. So you can see how much tension I have with this board and how close I am able to get in to the root area because of the board. If you struggle with hairline highlights, utilizing a board is gonna give you the best foundation to get really close and get the best saturation possible. So again, I only added in 6 foils for that bottom hairline and skipped all of this interior here that is right below the occipital, and I'm adding my highlights right before I get to the parietal ridge. This section right here is pretty wide, so I am going to split it up into 2 different foils because I want to get the maximum amount of control while I'm foiling. And I am taking this section right behind that front hairline section that I created. So just kind of keep that in mind. If the foil is just too wide for you, just go ahead and split it into 2 different sections. Because my client is all one length in the back and I want to create that illusion of a full highlight, this is the exact reason why I'm starting right here for her back highlights. And there's really no need to put them in the interior just because we want that depth. But it's just something to be aware of. If your client does have tons and tons of layers, this technique is probably not going to work best for you. So I went ahead and put in 3 total rows of diagonal back sections, so 6 foils in total for this mid zone. And now I'm gonna finish it off going horizontal. Now these diagonals that I put in are gonna give me a gorgeous ribbon effect, and these horizontals I'm putting is gonna give me more of a blended effect. She is a little bit more blonder towards the top, so I am gonna leave some of these pieces out. And I'm gonna continue to move throughout this section using 1/4 inch subsections. So this completes the back section. Now we're gonna move right onto the front and foil her front hairline. I went ahead and split this entire section into 2, using the arch of her eyebrow as my guide to bring it back. And it's usually like the width of a peace sign is kind of what helps me. And we're gonna kind of mimic what we did in that back hairline right here on the side. I'm gonna add in 2 back-to-back highlights with no hair in between. So I'm gonna pull up that section and weave those pieces down. I want the maximum amount of blonde right here on her front. And for my third section, I'm gonna leave very little hair in between. Overall, this technique is going to mimic that Scandinavian hairline highlight that a lot of stylists are doing, but it's gonna have a much more natural grow out. And I'm gonna continue on with this technique until I get this entire section complete. So I've completed this entire side section with 6 foils. So just to kind of give you a little recap for these first 2, I did 2 back-to-back baby lights with no hair in between. And for the rest of these foils, I left very little hair in between for that subtle dimension, but maintaining that pop of blonde that we love. And I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. So I completed her front hairline highlights on the sides, doing 2 back-to-back baby lights with no hair in between, and then finishing it off with those baby lights with little hair in between. And now we're gonna mimic that right here with her front hairline. So that way we have that nice pop of bold blonde right here in the front. So I'm gonna mimic the same thing I did to the sides, doing 2 back-to-back baby lights with no hair in between. So we wanna keep that Scandinavian hairline cohesive right here. I personally like weaving versus the slicing. It's gonna give a much softer grow out when you weave the hair out versus doing a slice. She's also had this section previously highlighted, so you can kind of see that line of demarcation. So I'm just bringing that lightener right on down to that section. So when you kind of look at it, we got this like little zigzag section right here. So this is gonna give us diffusion, and then we're gonna weave on top of this. So it has that nice graduation between pop of blonde into highlighted baby lighted pieces. And then this is my very last piece. So just keep in mind the less hair that's living in between each of the foils, the stronger and bolder global blonde you're gonna have. Keep in mind with less hair in between each of your foils, it's gonna make a stronger impact, giving you a global blonde look with less dimension. All right, so we have our entire hairline complete, got lots of foils going on, and now we're gonna use these 2 sections that we got going on here, and we're gonna finish this off in diagonal back sections. And then once we're all done putting her foils in, we are gonna add some depth and dimension by adding some color in between her foils. For my first side section, we're gonna do a diagonal back, and we're gonna do a lot less foils in this section because you want to maintain that depth. So we went from really bold and blonde here in the front, and now we want to focus on still bringing this blonde up, but we're gonna add in that depth in between those foils. So what we're gonna do is, you can see how much dark we're leaving right here, and we're just gonna highlight right on top of this section. And we're gonna keep these a little bit more rooted, just how we did this top section here. And now I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. For in between her foils and also for her shadow root, we used 1 ounce of 8GB and 1/2 ounce of 10N 1:2 with 9 volume developer. Now that our foils are all in and she's still processing, we are going to add in her depth. So my starting point is going to be the very top section of where we added in these diagonal backs and where we added in this horizontal highlight, because this is where her hair is gonna veil over. This is what we're all gonna see. Plus, this is where a lot of her old highlights are living as well. So I really wanna break up this line of demarcation. I wanna add in that depth. And what we're going to be using is Demi-permanent 8GB with a little bit of 10N. And we're gonna blend that right into clear in Demi. So blending those 2 colors together is going to give us a seamless dark to light, and you don't have to worry about spotting or over depositing because we're adding in that clear. So I just start by taking my depth shade, and I'm gonna go ahead and paint this in, and I'm gonna drag it down just a few inches away from the root area. I'm then gonna comb this down. For in between her foils on the mids and ends, I blended her Lowlight formula into clear, 1-to-1 with 9 volume developer. And now I'm gonna add in my clear. And we're gonna do this in between each of the foils, excluding that front hairline money piece area. The reason why I chose 8GB and 10N as my base is because I don't want to go too dark with her hair. She really loves that blonde, and you can see her natural virgin hair it's naturally light, so we don't want to go darker than that. We just want to add a little touch of warmth and depth to what she already has, making for a really soft grow out. Utilizing clear is also an added benefit for your client because it's gonna help create a really pretty shine coating on the hair, which is perfect for blondes, especially if you don't really need the tone. So it's a great standalone demi-permanent treatment to add in the hair. The best time to apply this depth in her hair is going to be when your highlights are almost done processing. I ideally would love to leave this demi-permanent on for at least 10 minutes. So you wanna time it just right so that way you get the proper amount of deposit needed. So you don't wanna put it on too last minute and you don't wanna put it on too early either. This technique is also great for someone who's transitioning from a traditional highlight where you can really see the strong line of demarcation, because I'm gonna drag it right on past that line. And you can really have fun with this too. Like, I'm gonna pull this down just a few inches right here, and then I'm gonna drag this down a little deeper on this interior, kind of creating a little bit of a rooted balayage effect with your shadow. And as soon as I get this on in between each of my foils, I'm gonna let her process for another 10 minutes, and then we'll be ready to do her final glaze. Now that our highlights are all done, we got this gorgeous blend with that shadow that we added in between her foils, and now it's time to tone her hair. So what I'm gonna do is add the same color that we did in between the foils as my Shadow Root Color Melt formula. I'm just gonna tap it in just a finger width down just to diffuse that line of demarcation between the natural hair and those brand new highlights I just added. And we're gonna let that process for about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna tap her hairline where she has that much brighter highlight around the face, and we're gonna immediately apply her end color formula. I'm only applying the Shadow Root formula on the areas where I added highlights in the interior. And I'm working with vertical sections because I'm gonna get the best blend that way. And the reason why we are gonna let this process for 10 minutes is because I want at least 10 to 15 minutes of deposit of this demi-permanent shade. And when we apply her hairline, we're gonna do that last because I just want a little light splash of tone at the base. I don't really want to take away from the brightness. And just to recap you on the formula, we're using demi-permanent 8GB with 10N equal parts of 9 volume developer. Now that it's been 10 minutes, I'm gonna just drag this down just a little bit with my comb, just so we can get a little bit more of a blend here. And I'm also gonna tap in the same formula right along that bright money piece that we got going on. This is literally gonna sit on for just a few seconds. As soon as I get this on her money piece, I'm gonna take her right to the bowl and get her final gloss for the rest of her hair on. For her final toner, I used Kenra Color Demi-permanent 1 ounce of 10B and ½ ounce of 9GG, 1:2 mixing ratio with 9 volume developer. Now that she's all done toning, I need to style her. I'm gonna be using blow dry spray from the Kenra Platinum collection. And I always love using this spray because it is going to help speed up that dry time. Plus it has argan oil to help retain a lot of the hydration and moisture. Next, I'm gonna layer in Volume Mousse. This has a hold factor of 12, and I'm gonna be using it for her blowout because she does have lots of natural texture going on, and overall give me a medium control. Now that her hair is all dry, I'm gonna add in some curls using Kenra Color Maintenance Thermal Spray. This has a medium hold, and this is also gonna help protect her color as we curl her hair. All right, so what do you think?
Oh my gosh, Morella, I love it. It's so beautiful. You really did add depth without making it too dark. I love the gold, the little golden at the top. It's so beautiful.
I'm so glad you love it. I think it complements your eyes so beautifully, and I love this golden shade. And then we're gonna see you back in about 6 weeks for another gloss.
That's good.
So I really hope you enjoyed this hair tutorial, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe and comment down below what your favorite part of this entire video was, and we'll be sure to respond. And make sure to check out my other hair tutorials right here on this channel, and I will see you in the next video.